35 He instructs his 12 disciples and sends them out to preach about the kingdom. 10. 1. 11. 1 He reveals truths about the kingdom, telling the parables of the sower, the wheat and weeds, the mustard grain, the leaven, treasure hidden in a field, a pearl of high value, a dragnet, workers in a vineyard, 2 sons, wicked cultivators, and a marriage feast for a king's son. 13. 3-50. 20. 1-16. 21. 28-41. 22. 1-14 He answers his disciples' question about the sign of his presence, including in his answer a forecast of global preaching of the kingdom. Good News. 24. 3. 25. 46 Jesus exposes the hypocrisy of the religious leaders. He shows that they misrepresent the purpose of the Sabbath and that their traditions invalidate God's word. 12. 3-7. 15. 1-14 He exposes their lack of faith, their murderous spirit, their hypocrisy and pride. 12. 24-42. 16. 1-4. 21. 43-45. 23. 2-36 He lays bare their utter disregard for justice, mercy, and faithfulness. 23. 23, 24. 9. 11-13 Jesus gives fine counsel to his followers in the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus shows why his disciples would be truly happy. He warns against wrath and urges them to make peace with one another and to love even their enemies. He tells of the danger of adulterous thoughts. He counsels against hypocrisy. O texto acute miritra longo. Matthias 354 Boys in Bethlehem and its districts. Chapter 2, and the dream of Pilate's wife regarding Jesus. 27. 19. At least 10 parables, or illustrations, found in Matthew's account are not mentioned in the other Gospels. These include 4 in chapter 13, those of the weeds in the field, the hidden treasure, the 1 pearl of high value, and the dragnet. Others are the illustrations of the unmerciful slave. Mount 18. 23-35, the workers in the vineyard. 20. 1-16, the marriage of the king's son. 22. 1-14, the 10 virgins. 25. 1-13, and the talents. 25. 14-30. At times Matthew provides supplementary details. Although material from the Sermon on the Mount also appears in Luke's account. Luke 6. 17-49, Matthew's Gospel is far more extensive in this respect. Mount 5. 1. 7. 29 Whereas Mark, Luke, and John mention the miraculous feeding of about 5,000 men, Matthew adds besides women and young children. Mount 14. 21. Mr. 6. 44. Luke 9. 14. Joe 6. 10 Matthew mentions 2 demon-possessed men encountered by Jesus in the country of the Gadarenes, while Mark and Luke refer to only 1. Mount 8. 28. Mr. 5. 2. Luke 8. 27 Matthew also tells of 2 blind men being healed on an occasion, whereas Mark and Luke mention only 1. Mount 20. 29, 30. Mr. 10. 46, 47. Luke 18. 35, 38 Of course, all the writers were correct in that at least 1 person was involved in each incident. But Matthew was often more explicit as to number. This perhaps is to be attributed to his former occupation as a tax collector. Matthew's use of the Hebrew Scriptures. It has been estimated that Matthew's Gospel contains about 100 references to the Hebrew Scriptures. About 40 of these are actual quotations of passages. These include Christ's own quotations from and allusions to the Hebrew Scriptures, among which are the following. A man's enemies to be persons of his own household. Mount 10. 35, 36. Mix 7. 6. John the Baptizer identified as the Elijah to come. Mount 11. 13, 14. 17. 11-13. Mal 4. 5. Jesus and Jonah's experiences compared. Mount 12. 40. John 1. 17. Commandment on honoring parents. Mount 15. 4. Acts 20. 12. 21. 17. Rendering lip service to God Mount 15. 8, 9. Isra 29. 13. Need for 2 or 3 witnesses Mount 18. 16. The 19. 15. Statements on marriage Mount 19. 4-6. G1. 27. 2. 24. Various commandments Mount 5. 21, 27, 38. 19. 18, 19. Acts 20. 12-16. 21. 24. The 19. 18. 24. 20. The 19. 21. The temple made into a cave of robbers Mount 21. 13. Isra 56. 7. J7. 11. Rejection of Jesus, the stone that became the chief cornerstone Mount 21. 42. PS 118. 22, 23. Foes of David's Lord put under his feet Mount 22. 44. PS 110. 1. Disgusting thing in the holy place Mount 24. 15. Dar 9. 27. Jesus' disciples scattered Mount 26. 31. Zek 13. 7. Christ apparently forsaken by God Mount 27. 46. PS 22. 1. There are also Jesus' statements used in resisting Satan's temptations. Mount 4. 4, 7, 10. 8. 3. 6. 16, 13. Interesting, too, is Matthew's inspired application of Hebrew scripture prophecies to Jesus, proving him to be the promised Messiah. This aspect would have been of particular concern to the Jews, for whom the account seems to have been originally intended. The prophecies include Jesus being born of a virgin Mount 1. 23. Issa 7. 14. His birth in Bethlehem Mount 2. 6. Mic 5. 2. His being called out of Egypt Mount 2. 15. Ho 11. 1. The lamentation over the death of slaughtered children Mount 2. 16-18. J 31. 15. John the Baptist is preparing the way before Jesus Mount 3. 1-3. Issa 40. 3. Jesus' ministry bringing light Mount 4. 13-16. Issa 9. 1, 2. His carrying of illnesses Mount 8. 14-17. Issa 53. 4. His use of illustrations Mount 13. 34, 35. PS 78. 2. Jesus' entry into Jerusalem on the colt of an ass Mount 21. 4, 5. Zek 9. 9. The betrayal of Christ for 30 pieces of silver Mount 26. 14, 15. Zek 11. 12. An accurate, beneficial record. Matthew, being a close associate of Christ during Jesus' later years of life on earth and thus an eyewitness of his ministry, o textui acute miritra longo, Mazaroth constellation 355 ported in the Bible of the lots being resorted to in determining Jehovah's choice in a matter. Ac 1. 15-26. According to Peter's words Ac 1. 21, 22, Matthias had been a follower of Christ throughout Jesus' 3.5-year ministry, had been closely associated with the apostles, and was quite likely one of the 70 disciples or evangelists whom Jesus sent out to preach. Luke 10. 1. After his selection, he was reckoned along with the 11 apostles by the congregation Ac 1. 26, and when the book of Acts immediately thereafter speaks of the apostles or the 12, Matthias was included. Act 2. 37, 43. 4, 33, 36, 5, 12, 29, 6, 2, 6, 8, 1, 14. See Paul. Matithia mat middle.t middle.thi gift of Jehovah. 1. Elvite who played a harp when the Ark of the Covenant was brought to Jerusalem from the house of Obed-Edom. 1 ch 15. 17-21, 25 Probably this same Matithia was one of the Levite musicians whom David put before the ark both to call to remembrance and to thank and praise Jehovah the God of Israel. 1 ch 16. 4, 5 And was the individual who was later selected by lot from among the sons of Jeduthun to head the 14th division of 12 Levite musicians. 1 ch 25. 1, 3, 9, 21. 2. A Kohathite Levite of the family of Korah and the firstborn son of Shalom. This Matithia was among the Levites returning from a Babylonian exile and was in the office of trust over the things baked in pans. 1 ch 9. 31, 32. 3. A Levite or priest who stood at Ezra's right hand when the copyists read the law of Moses to the Jews assembled in Jerusalem. 8. 1, 4. 4. An Israelite of the sons of Nebo who was among those accepting foreign wives, but who sent them away along with sons in Ezra's day. Ez 10. 25, 43, 44. Maturity. The state of being full-grown, ripe, complete, as determined by a standard. See perfection. The Bible provides the standard for ascertaining what constitutes spiritual maturity completeness. According to this standard, the mature Christian is one who is not a spiritual babe, often changeable and easily led astray or influenced by others in matters of doctrine. F4. 11-14 Since his perceptive powers are trained, he is able to distinguish both right and wrong. He does not need to be taught elementary things. Heb 5. 11. 6. 2 He is guided, not by worldly wisdom, but by God's Spirit. 1 Co 2. 6, 10-13, FTN. Never does the Bible speak about degrees or stages of spiritual maturity or adulthood. However, just as a person continues to grow in knowledge, experience, and discernment after becoming an adult, the mature Christian likewise continues to make progress. Trials that he has can strengthen his faith and endurance. Wrote the disciple James. Consider it all joy, my brothers, when you meet with various trials, knowing as you do that this tested quality of your faith works out endurance. But let endurance have its work complete, that you may be complete literally, perfect and sound in all respects, not lacking in anything. Ches 1. 2-4 Similarly, as adults will vary in physical aspects and in mental abilities and talents, so mature Christians may vary in certain qualities, some being notable in some aspect, such as knowledge, judgment, courage, or generosity. Others in another. Compare 1 Co 7. 7. 12. 4-11, 27-31. Thus, in considering maturity, it is necessary to take into consideration that special abilities or talents are not the things that determine whether one is a mature Christian or not. The entire congregational arrangement, with its apostles, prophets, evangelizers, shepherds, and teachers, served to produce mature Christians, spiritual adults. F4. 11-14. Compare Col 1. 28, 29. 4. 12, 13. Obviously, then, those serving as shepherds and teachers had to be spiritually mature persons, not babes. However, more than spiritual adulthood was required of one appointed as an overseer or a ministerial servant. 1t3. 1-9, 12, 13. Tito textoi acute miritra longo, me 356 its sons, can you conduct them? Thus, whatever the identification of these particular constellations may be, God puts the question to Job whether he can control the visible celestial bodies, bringing forth a certain group at its proper season or guiding another constellation in its prescribed heavenly course. Mia. Seed tower. Meal. often occasions of happy fellowship and spiritual benefit among the ancient Hebrews and, later, the early Christians. Meals also afforded opportunities for showing love and extending hospitality to others. It appears that the Hebrews and early Christians customarily offered prayers in connection with meals. 1:9. 13. Act 27. 35. 1:4. 1:3. See hospitality. Lord's evening meal. Love feasts. The Israelites appear to have had two main meals each day, one in the morning and the other in the evening at the close of the workday. Compare 3. 2, 3, 7. 1 Kai 17. 6. While many ate their breakfasts at home, others, including fishermen who toiled all night, apparently made it a practice to take some food along when going to work. Fishermen could also prepare some of their catch for breakfast. Compare Mr. 8. 14. Joe 21. 12, 15. There is evidence, however, that a meal, perhaps usually a lighter one, was served about noon. Act 10. 9, 10. Probably at this time persons working in the field stopped to rest and ate some food. Compare 2. 14. Women customarily served the food. Joe 12. 1-3. But at times they ate their meals in company with man. 1:1. 4, 5. Job 1. 4. In well-to-do, particularly royal, household servants waited on the tables. King Solomon's table was served by waiters having special attire. 1 Kai 10. 4, 5. 2 Ch 9. 3, 4. Drinks were usually served in individual cups, but food was often placed in a common dish. Those eating might take food with their fingers or use a piece of bread somewhat like a spoon to partake of certain foods. Mr. 14. 20. Joe 13. 25, 26. See also PR 26. 15. The postures assumed by persons at meals included reclining and sitting. G 18. 4. 27. 19. JG 19. 6. Lu 9. 14. A relief from the palace of Assyrian king Ashurbanipal depicts him as reclining on a couch and his queen as seated on an elevated chair while feasting. Reclining on couches at meals was apparently also a practice among the Persians. As 7. 8 tables and couches were used at least by some Israelites in Ezekiel's time. As 23. 41. During the time of Jesus' earthly ministry. The general Hebrew custom in the 1st century CE was for persons to wash their hands before eating a meal. This was a ritualistic practice among the scribes and Pharisees. Mr. 7. 1-8. See washing of hands. At banquets or large feasts in the time of Jesus' earthly ministry, couches were placed around 3 sides of a table. This left the 4th side free so that those serving the food could gain access to the table. At times 4 or 5 persons occupied one couch, but usually the number was 3. Those partaking of the meal usually rested on the left elbow, probably on a cushion, with their heads toward the table. Food was normally taken with the right hand. The place of highest importance on a couch was that occupied by the person having no one behind him. To be in the bosom position in relation to someone else reclining at a meal meant being in front of him and would also signify having his favor. Joe 13. 23. The individual having a person in the bosom position could easily carry on a confidential conversation with him. The customary 3 positions on each couch indicated that a person had a high, middle, or low position on the couch. When several couches were used, one having the lower position on the couch farthest from the host had the lowest position at the meal. Compare Mount 23. 6. Lu 14. 7-11. At least on certain festive occasions a large meal or banquet might be under the supervision of a director. Joe 2. 9 and could feature such entertainment as a music concert o texto e acute miritra longo. Deba 357. The destruction of those standing in opposition to God provides the occasion for a great evening meal. This meal is for the birds that will feed on the dead bodies of those slain. Re 19. 15-18 A very different meal is the great banquet for all the peoples mentioned at Isaiah 25. 6. Marami middle. Cave. A Sidonian city or district that remained to be conquered after Israel's campaign under Joshua's leadership ended. Jos 13. 2. 2 locations have tentatively been suggested. One is the village of Mgeri, about 10 kilometers 6 mi of Sidon. The other is Mogadjez in Arabic for Caves of Jezan, a district of caves atop the Lebanon Range and of Sidon. Measure. See weights and measures. Measuring line. A string, rope, or cord used for measuring. 1 Chi 7. 15, 23. Am 7. 17. Zek 2. 1, 2 Some measuring lines were apparently divided into cubits. 2 Ch 4. 2 The extent of a particular land area was determined by stretching or casting a measuring line upon its surface. Compare Job 38. 4, 5. PS 78. 55. Nick 2. 4, 5. Builders used it, as when laying out a city. 31. 38, 39. Zek 1. 16, and the woodcarver might use it to set the dimensions of an object. Isla 44. 13 On one occasion King David appears to have measured off the vanquished Moabites that were to be put to death from those to be preserved alive. 2 8. 2. Figurative use. In a figurative sense, measuring line denotes a rule, or standard, of action. Isla 28. 10, 13 For example, Jehovah made justice the measuring line when dealing with his unfaithful people. Isla 28. 17 He's applying the same measuring line to Jerusalem as he had to Samaria pointed to a similar desolation for Jerusalem. 2 Chi 21. 13. Bar 2. 8 His stretching out the measuring line of emptiness on Edom likewise betokened destruction, and the use of this measuring line meant apportioning the land to the animals that would begin to dwell in the desolated areas of Edom. Isla 34. 5-17. David regarded his relationship with Jehovah as his portion in life. It was a most satisfying inheritance, prompting him to say, "The measuring lines themselves have fallen for me in pleasant places." PS 16. 5, 6. Compare New 18. 20. The heavenly bodies testify to God's creative activity, and since their silent testimony fills the earth, the psalmist could say respecting them, "Into all the earth their measuring line has gone out." PS 19. 1-4. Row 1. 20. See read. Meat. See flesh. Food. Idols, meats offer to. Bernami middle. Bernay. A mighty man in David's army, a Hushaltite. 2 23. 27 Apparently he is the same person as the Sivak I mentioned in 2 Samuel 21. 18 and 1 Chronicles 11. 29. 20. 4. 27. 11. Mecharatite me middle. Sharath middle. Ite. A term pertaining to a person or place named Mechera, to which Hefer, one of David's mighty men, was linked either by descent or former residence. 1 Ch 11. 26, 36 Some scholars suggest that Mecharatite may be a variation of Muakatite, as at 2 Samuel 23. 34. Mekonomy middle. Konal from a root meaning foamy establish.